Alright, hello 7th grade. So today we're looking at making predictions. And so far we've been talking about some stuff with probability, but we haven't really been using it to make predictions about what might happen in a specific instance or with a specific group of people. That's what we're looking at now. So we're taking some stuff that's going to look a lot like probability and we're going to be using it for something. Which is why I said the first bit of this is going to look quite a bit like what we were doing with probability. So if I've got 200 students and we surveyed them about their favorite animals or the animals they had, and 83 had a dog, 52 had a cat, 17 had a hamster, 12 had a fish, and we want to find the probability of a student owning a fish, a dog, or a hamster. Okay, now, the first thing you might notice is these numbers don't actually add up to 200. So we're used to our probabilities having to add up to 100%. I mean, if I roll a die, I've either got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are my options. If I flip a coin, it's 50-50, heads or tails. 50 and 50 adds up to 100%. That's not always going to happen with these, because if we just asked them what kind of animals they had or what kind of pets they had, maybe some of them have a dog and a cat. Maybe some of them have a hamster and a cat and a dog, and that'd be a lot of animals. Maybe some of them don't have any pets, and in fact, since these add up to 200, there are at least some that don't have at least any of these pets. Maybe they have other pets. So these numbers aren't always going to add up to your total, and that's okay. So even though we got 200 students, these numbers aren't necessarily going to add up to that, and in this case, they don't. They add up to like 164. Which just means that there are some students who don't have any of those kind of animals. And that's okay. So if you're looking at the numbers in the book going, that doesn't add up, they're not supposed to. Okay, so if we got 200 students and we want to find the probability of the student owning a fish, we've got 12 fish. And just keep an eye out for that's out of 200 rather than out of the 164 that this adds up to. So this is still your total even if these don't add up to that. So we got 12 out of 200. Or if you want to take that and reduce that, that reduce to 3 out of 50. If you divide those both by 4. Or if you took that and you said 3 divided by 50 would give me 6%. That's fine. Again, either this, or this. Not something I'm going to be overly picky about. The main point is getting here. Okay, same sort of thing with dogs. You get 83 dogs out of 200 students. And that's not going to reduce because there's nothing that goes into 83 and 200. And then hamsters, we got 17 out of 200. Should have left myself a little bit more room down here. And again, that's not going to reduce because 17 is nice and prime. I'm just going to scoot that over here so it's easier to see. Alright, so nothing too painful going on there. We're just taking the number of people who own a fish or whatever and sticking it over 200. That part's not so bad. The other part's not too bad either. Because again, this is the start of the chapter stuff, where this is the, okay, here's what we need to know in order for the rest of the chapter to make sense. So this stuff isn't really terrible. Alright. So this time we got some students who were asked if they liked horror movies, action movies, romance movies, sci-fi movies, and again you may notice these percents don't add up to 100. This time they add up to more than 100. Because we got 42 and 47, that would already be 89%, and this is definitely more than 11% here. Okay, so this time it's more than 100%, so people could answer they liked more than one thing. And that's a thing you can do when you're doing surveys and stuff. You can say, okay, well, you can either pick one, or you can pick however many you want, and we're going to talk about some of that and how you do surveys and stuff in the next section. But for now, we just want to know, out of 450 students, we want to predict how many would enjoy horror movies. Well, we've got 23% of however many we surveyed, and if we just have percents, it doesn't actually matter what this is out of, because percents are always out of 100. So we know 23 out of 100 preferred horror movies, and we want to know, well, how many would that be out of 450? Ooh, hey, this looks like the butterfly thing. So we're going to take this and we're going to butterfly it. And we're going to take 100 times x. I'm going to get rid of sci-fi for the moment. Give myself a little more room. We'll come back to sci-fi. So we got 100 times x equals 23 times 450. 23 times 450 is 10,350. And then we're dividing by 100. And we got 103, technically 0.5, but we're not going to have 0.5 of a person, so I'd be okay with either leaving that at 103 or with rounding it up to 104, because technically what you get there is 103.5, but if we're talking about whole people, we don't want half a person. That's not a thing. Please don't cut your people in half. Don't do that. So either 103 or 104 would be okay there. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing, but with sci-fi. So I'm just going to get rid of this one. So I want to know how many would enjoy sci-fi. Okay, well we got sci-fi is 47%, so 47 out of 100, because percents are always out of 100, equals, and we want to figure out how many that would be out of 450. Okay, well, we're going to take that 47 times 450, and that 100 times x. So yeah, 100 times x equals 47 times 450. Okay, so we're looking for whatever 47 times 450 is, which is about 21,150. And then we're dividing by 100. Which gives you about 211.5 again. So again, either call that 211 or 212, depending on how you're rounding that. Technically 0.5 should round up to this. I'm okay if you do this. We're making a prediction, so it's okay if it's a little bit off one way or the other. We just want to use this to get a general ballpark idea. So I'm not going to make a big deal about whether you round that 0.5 up or 0.5 down. Technically 0.5 should round up. Okay. Now, that's one way to do that. There's actually another way to do that. And the other way to do that is, let's say I've got people who ordered hamburger, chicken, sandwich, pizza, and anytime you have a pie graph, that should add up to 100%. So if we have a pie chart, we're saying, okay, well, this is out of 100%, so these ones are going to add up to 100%. And we want to figure out of 1,400 people, how many would order pizza. Now, you can do the same thing we were just doing. Or the other thing you can do is if we want to find 30% of 1,400, the other thing you can do is you can take that 30% and turn it into a decimal. And if we want to turn that into a decimal, we're moving our decimal point 2 places that way. So you can call that 0.3. And you can take that times 1,400, which will give you 420. And this one you don't have to round, because that was 420 whole people. Okay, so either this or the fraction thing we were just doing. This is a little bit quicker. Just watch out for, if you're doing this, you want to make sure you move that decimal 2 places, so 30% is 0.3. Alright, now we want to do the same thing with sandwich, which you get 11% over there. So we're going to call that 0.11 times our 1400. So this number is always the number that you want to predict out of that number of people. So we're going to take 0.11 times 1400, which gives you 154. So some of these you might have to round, some of them you won't. Either one's fine. You just want to watch out for, if you do have a decimal, you do want to either lop off that decimal or round it. We don't want half people. Alright, and that is pretty much what's going on with making predictions. Again, stuff at the beginning of the chapter, so this isn't too terrible. We just need to make sure we've got this stuff before we get into the, okay, well, what do we do with this stuff part? So go ahead and check out the homework in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video.